Well, we're out here for another day on the farm. Yesterday, we finished up this whole hillside and that little draw down there, and then over the hill, we finished all that up. And then today, we are gonna work on this fence row. We gotta try and expose the existing property line that runs all the way down this fence to way down there. So that's what we're gonna work on today. Stay with us, it's gonna be great. Okay, so you can see a little bit about what we've got going. I started just the other side of those little bushes right over there. And so far I've come up to here, and I'm working back and forth this way because the sun is right there, and if I try to cut this way, it just blinds me to death. But you can see it's about 30 feet wide, maybe 35 feet wide right there. And so far, this is a couple of 100 yards long, but the total distance from that end of the field to this end of the field is right at a half a mile. It's, yeah, right at a half a mile according to Onyx. So we've got our work cut out for us. We got to cut basically a 30 to 40 foot wide path all the way down this fence line. Right there is the fence line. And clean all this up. Mother Nature is relentless. And we are trying to recover some of this pasture land, and that's what we're doing. Okay, there we are. That's our update. Alrighty, well, we have completed a pretty good amount of work going back this way. Paul's truck is down there at the end, and so we started on the other side of Paul's truck by about 50 or 60 yards, and we've come all the way up to here. There's been a couple of big trees that I had to take down. There was two big, huge fallen pine trees that were down that I ground up what I could, and the rest of it is on the other side of the fence, so that's on the neighbor's property. Then there was a couple of big oak trees that were right down here. We ground those up. I got a couple little branches right here to clean up, but what I got going on now is this big, huge dead pine tree. Actually, there's a couple of them in here. Maybe three, I don't know. But here's the scary part. That big guy is broken off about 20 feet in the air. And that's probably it's probably 20 inches at that 20-foot mark. It's easily 30 inches down here at the base. This is a big, huge, fat pine tree. It went down in a storm, so we've got that one. We've got this guy right here that's holding it up, and right behind it is an oak tree that had all the branches peeled out of it when this pine tree came down. So I've got to be real careful. I can't get too close to that because I think it's being held up by imagination at this point. This dead oak tree right here is holding up that pine tree. The oak tree behind it, it's got a bunch of branches tangled in it. So I think what I'm going to do is just grind on these lower branches and get them out of the way. And then I don't know what we're going to do about making this safe. It's just a sketchy one. So all of that down there looks really great. That's my positive statement for right now. But, oh, and rain clouds are coming, which is not bad because it's like 90% humidity out here right now and a little hot. So we're going to see what shakes loose. Oh, hey, Mr. Hawk. There he is. There he is. Hey, Mr. Hawk. Go get you some breakfast. He likes following me around because I root up rabbits and stuff for him. All right, I'm going to set you down out here and let's see what happens. All right, so we are done with these big old trees that were laying on top of each other. Let me spin you around here. Okay, so right there is the stem of what's left of that tree. It's on the neighbor's property, so we're not going to mess with that at all. That is the oak tree that got raked on the way down. That is the other oak tree that got raked on the way down. There's the stump of the oak tree that the pine tree took down. And now you can see what's left of everything. And my mulcher did a great job. There's 32 teeth on that thing, and they spin at a couple of thousand RPM. And that head there weighs about 3,500 pounds, so it's a rather large object to be taking these trees apart. You can see we've left a really, really nice finish here. And this will eventually grow some nice grass that's just like the rest of this field out here. And this homeowner, this property owner, will be able to reclaim this as pasture land, which is the whole goal of why we're on this property. So that's what we got for now. And you can see that the teeth on that guy make a real fine mulch. And that's good. It's going to make this land nice and healthy again. All this will release nitrogen and other nutrients into the ground, and it's going to grow back a pasture. Alrighty, thank you so much, everybody. Now let's keep on going. Well, it's lunchtime, and we are, I don't know, we're not quite halfway, but probably close. We've probably gone 300 or 400 yards, and we've knocked down quite a lot. You can see behind me here, we're getting a nice path all the way down this fence row. Now that we're near the end of this field, this hill drops off to a low spot. It's not really a ditch, it's just a ravine from this field to the next. So I'm gonna start down there on the other side of the tractor and get that big deadfall, and then I'm gonna start doing this hillside here, get rid of all this invasive brush and sticker bushes and the sweet gums and these little volunteer pines. We'll work on that after lunch, and you guys can join us. Right now, Paul is putting fuel in the truck, or in the tractor rather. And there you go. I got this really cool little battery thing here. I used to have a big 12-volt deep cycle battery for my fuel system, but this is just a little Ryobi battery. And I got this plastic battery adapter with a 18 to 20 volt input with a 12 volt 15 amp max output. And I just wired my pump into that, so that runs my fuel pump on the truck. And then for safety's sake, we disconnect the battery so that there's just no way fuel can flow, even if the switch is on, while we're going down the road. That lives in there, the battery lives in there, and then when we need to charge it, we got a charger in the truck. So that's our little homemade fuel system, and it gets rid of having to have a whole car battery in there, or having to have wiring that goes up the front of the truck. So it's cheap, it's easy, and it works great. All right, we're gonna eat lunch. Talk to you soon.